You are not conscious because you have a brain. That's the assumption your entire life has been built upon. And if that assumption is wrong, then almost everything you think you are collapses. Right now, you think consciousness is happening inside of your skull. You believe there's a little you somewhere behind the eyes, looking out at the world, having experiences, making decisions, thinking thoughts. But stop for a second and look carefully. Have you ever actually experienced this self directly? Not the thought of the self, not the name, not your memories, not the image of your face in your mind. I mean the actual entity, the one who's supposedly inside your head, aware of everything. Can you find it? This is where things start feeling uncomfortable because most people never realize that materialism, the belief that consciousness is produced by the brain, is not something they discovered through direct experience. It's something they inherited. A worldview, a paradigm, a belief system. And to be clear, science is incredibly useful. It can measure brain states and behavior, neural activity, chemistry, but there's a deeper problem that it can't explain. Why is there subjective experience at all? Why does anything feel like something instead of nothing? A brain scan can show electrical activity, but it can't explain why the color red appears, why pain feels painful, why awareness exists in the first place. That's the hard problem of consciousness. And here's where it gets strange. Most people assume consciousness is a subjective phenomenon happening inside an objective material universe. But look at your direct experience right now. Everything you've ever known about the universe has appeared inside consciousness. The stars, the planets, physics, atoms, your body, your thoughts, other people, all of it appears as experience. You have never stepped outside consciousness to verify something beyond it. And the mind immediately says, well, obviously consciousness comes from the brain. Okay, but the brain itself is also an experience appearing in consciousness. You never experience a brain outside awareness. You never experience matter outside awareness. You've never experienced a universe outside awareness. So the assumption that consciousness is produced by matter is already standing on top of consciousness in order to make its claim. And that's the part that most people miss. Now notice something even deeper though. When you say, I am conscious, what exactly are you referring to? Try to locate the I. Not conceptually, but actually look. Is it in the face or the head, maybe the chest, or are there only sensations appearing? Thoughts and images appearing? Look carefully at what you call me. Usually it's a combination of a mental image of your body, a feeling in the head or chest, a thought saying the word I, but those are all objects appearing in awareness, so who is aware of them? And if they're being perceived, can they really be what you are? This is why self-inquiry is so powerful, because it's not asking you to adopt a belief. It's asking you to inspect reality directly. And when you really do this, something shocking starts to happen. You realize the self cannot actually be found. There's thoughts but no thinker, emotions but no owner, sensations but no separate experiencer. Experience is simply just appearing. But the mind tries to escape this immediately by saying, okay, maybe there's no self, but obviously the physical world still exists. But here's the deeper problem. What is the physical world made of in your direct experience? Not conceptually, experientially. All you ever know are colors, sounds, sensations, thoughts, perceptions, conscious experience, that's it. Even the idea of atoms is just an idea appearing in consciousness, and suddenly the entire structure flips upside down. Instead of consciousness existing inside the universe exists inside of consciousness. Now, this is where people usually panic and say, so are you saying the world is imaginary? Not imaginary in the sense of fake, but imaginary in the sense that reality is more like a dream than a machine. Think about a movie projected on a screen. Most people focus on the characters and explosions and objects and plot lines, and that's all second order reality. But the first order reality is that everything about the movie is actually made out of light on a screen. The characters aren't independently real, the objects aren't independently real. The world of the movie is made out of one substance, which is light. Same thing here. Space, time, objects, bodies, thoughts, these are all appearances within consciousness. Consciousness is the screen, and the reason consciousness must be completely empty is because it has to be able to become anything. A sound, a color, a body, a galaxy, a thought, a memory. If consciousness had a fixed shape or attribute of its own, it couldn't take on all forms. That's why awareness itself is formless and empty. Not empty like dead nothingness, but it's empty like infinite potential. And here's the part that completely breaks the normal model of reality. Consciousness is not happening in space or time. Space and time are happening inside of consciousness. Look at your experience carefully. Where is the past right now? It only exists as a thought. Where is the future? Also just thought. Space is an appearance in perception. You never experience objective space. You experience a field of consciousness containing the appearance of space. This is why consciousness itself cannot be located anywhere, because every location appears inside it. But here's where it becomes existential. If consciousness is the fundamental reality, then the universe itself is conscious. But not conscious like human mind with opinions and emotions, conscious in a sense that consciousness is what reality is. The fundamental building block is not atoms. Atoms are just appearances within consciousness. Consciousness is the substance itself. And suddenly reality starts looking less like dead matter accidentally producing awareness and more like awareness imagining matter. That sounds insane at first, but think about this carefully. People ask, how could consciousness create reality? But how is your current model any less bizarre? How does unconscious matter randomly produce consciousness? How do dead atoms suddenly create color, sound, pain, love, fear, experience? Nobody knows. Materialism does not solve the mystery, it just relocates it. Now here's the most important part. The mind can turn non-duality into another philosophy or belief system, and that completely misses the entire point. This has to become direct experience for you, which means you have to directly investigate right now. Close your eyes for a second and wait for your next thought. Not the content of the thought, but wait until the moment before the thought appears. Did you choose that thought, or did it simply just arrive? Now try to find the thinker. Not another thought about the thinker, but the actual thinker. Where is it? If you can't find it, what does that imply about the person you thought you were? This is the beginning of self-inquiry. Not becoming spiritual, not about belief systems or pretending the world doesn't exist. It's about seeing clearly. Seeing with the separate self may only ever be an idea created by thought, and the deeper you look, the more shocking it becomes. Because eventually you realize something terrifying and liberating at the same exact time. The consciousness listening to these words is not personal. It was never inside of your body. The body appeared inside of it. Your entire body, every thought and memory and fear and relationship and moment has appeared inside of this infinite field of awareness. And the you trying to control life the entire time may have only ever been an appearance inside of the dream. You were never the voice in your head trying to understand consciousness. You were the consciousness in which the voice appeared.